All right, welcome to another episode of the Give Us a Spell podcast. Bit different this week, as you can see with my background. I've got Warnie. I've got Tommy and Coey with me, boys. We thought we'd jump on a Monday night, pretty rare for us. Obviously, we're known for a lot of our racing and stuff, but we do love sport, and we got some freaking crazy news. Saturday morning, I guess it was. I think I saw it at about 2 a.m. A few messages coming through and stuff, and one of the greats, Warnie's not with us anymore, King.
Yeah, I know. It's a shame. And I thought legitimately, because I was still at the pub when little bits of the news filtered through. And then I got home, I opened my Twitter feed, as you do. You're just like, oh, this is a hoax for all money. Because you hear all the greats fucking passing away every second day. And then you open the feed and you go, holy shit, this is actually legitimate. This is taken out of the usual proportions where a hoax will be like a couple of little feeder tweets that retweet each other, whatever, and then you see this and you go, like, actual people with the blue and white tick on Twitter, the confirmed kind of sources and new journos and everything else, and you just go, well, I need to dig a little bit deeper just to make sure. And sure enough, I saw the unfortunate news about 12:30 on the Friday night, Saturday morning. Just went, holy fuck. The boys like yourself and Tommy, I wasn't sure if you guys were up, but I was sure enough just to put the feeder out, because we'd already talked about Rod Marsh passing away earlier that day, and just went, fuck, surely this can't be real. And then it was, more or less it was confirmed by morning, the time that I woke up, and it was just, fuck, it's just tragic, isn't it? Like, the good die young, and Warnie was one of the fucking legends of the game, and he just passed away.
I think what I did was I was in Tamworth with a couple of Manly greats, and we'd been on the piss all night Friday night, and we got back about 12 or whatever, and we were at a little bit of group chat so we didn't get lost. And I remember we got a message going, Warnie, just question mark. And I was a bit pissed, and I saw it, looked at it about 2. And I didn't believe it either because we talked about Rod Marsh. I'm like, Rod Marsh? But I get these updated emails from Fox Sports like all day, that whenever their headlines and shit, I'm like, Fox Sports just sent this about Warnie. Went checked his Instagram. He still had a live story and like a post and shit. Like, he'd only posted 18 hours ago or something. Like, this is fucked. So the fact that I was pissed, but and it's kind of weird. I've met Warnie a couple of times playing poker. That's the only time I've ever met him. I've played poker a couple of times with him, but it's so weird to feel a weird way about someone you don't even know. Tommy, your cricket left like the back of your hand. What did you think when you saw it?
Yeah, well, I got a message from Coey, another one from our mate Bushy. I was just about to hop into bed, and I didn't believe it. Both of them just said, Shane Warne, what the fuck? I was like, oh, surely not. Surely some sort of hoax. And I think everyone sort of said the same thing, that they couldn't believe what they were reading. And it was a shock. Coey and I actually saw him in Melbourne about a month ago when we were down there. And we wondered, because we'd just come back from the Big Bash final, how he beat us from the final to the casino, because we literally went straight there.
Yeah.
But he, as you said, mate, like he was having a chat to everyone. It's people were calling it like our Diana moment, and like you like no one knows him, but you just feel like you do. He retired over 10 years ago, and he's still just a big part of Australian sporting culture, and just everyone knows Warnie.
I was going to get my dad in. He couldn't jump in today. My dad's only 2 years older than Warnie, so I grew up. My dad's a fanatic on cricket, and the amount of memories I have, just as like when I was a youngster, but heaps are just about Warnie, and like how much my dad used to just tell me, he goes, the Mike Gadding ball, that's something you'll still watch when you're 30 years old. I'm like, well, I still do. Do you know what I mean? Like, I would watch that a couple of times. It's like when you watch Peter Siddle's hat trick. There's certain things in cricket that you watch all the time. You watch Gillies like second fastest ton. There's certain things, but to me, Warnie's always been number one. Like, there's not many. A lot of people can be fast bowlers and shit. There's not many people that can bowl, spin, and have a unique way, get out on 99, somehow be amazing in the slips, be a party animal, smoke burners like yourself, King, and still be one of the greats. Like, fuck, he was always my number one cricketer, always.
It doesn't go without saying, really. Like I mean, not to overshadow the whole Rod Marsh thing because he was a legend, but at the same time, he was kind of before all of our times, I guess, to a certain degree. Like we didn't really grow up with what he did, and he was still touted as one of the greats. Like, and the fact that Warney died within the 24-hour period. I mean, no, condolences to all the family and friends and everything else that are a part of the Marsh family as well. But we grew up with Warne, and he was such a significant part of our lives as Australians. Just watching sports. It didn't even have to be sports. That's just what made him iconic. He was just such a character, and like the world is suffering, dare I say, of this tragedy, and it's a shame. It's just you go. Whether it's the time we live in where, information it travels just so fast. Like we probably picked it up, within the hour of him passing because some bystander or someone in the Thai hospital that passed on the message saying, hey, that's Shane Warne. You know who Shane Warne is? Like, as soon as you pass, if you're a well-known kind of commodity or a person in general, like the information's out there in the open. And, we found that out at 1 a.m. or 12:30 in the morning, whatever it was, and that was just globally spread in seconds. And I think culturally speaking, this is where it's just so interesting, I guess, is how big cricket is and how big Warney was. I think just everyone knew who he was. I mean, cricket's really in the, like in the limelight, a sport that's a part of the Commonwealth.
Tommy's got
really,
himself
in
a
the grand
background
scheme of
finally.
things, like it's, finally got a background. Good on you, Tommy. But like it's a sport that's, kind of, I'd say probably, I don't know, 20 to 30% of the world knows what cricket is.
So many people
And
know
the
who
thing
Warney
as well
is.
with it as well, right? So like he terrorized England. So like he would literally like terrorize them, and he's more popular in England than he is in Australia almost. Like he was going over there every like he was on his way there. I think his next stop was England to commentate there for their upcoming tournament. Michael Vaughan put out a great message about him spending Warney's last Christmas with him, and just how generous he is. And Warney, instead of having some of the big turkey, still having like lasagna bread roll sandwiches. And, like it's just ridiculous how much he's had on Australian culture. Like I got the nickname Warney growing up because I bleached my hair, I bowled leg spin, and I talked a lot of shit as well. The amount of I used to just watch endless videos of how he would bowl. Like I like trying to perfect a flipper or his wrongman or whatever he did.
Can we get a photo,
I'd
Tommy?
just been in the backyard. I do. I was trying to find the photo. There is one that the Stone Advocate did use. I'm going to find it for you. I'd bowl in the sunnies as well. I'd literally bowl in the sunnies, just everything like Warney because he was so good at leg spin, and everyone just wanted to be him growing up. He's such a big part of Australian sport.
I think, like Chloe said, condolences to his family, and he's got a bunch of kids. Like, yes, he was the larrikin and everyone knew him around the world, but he was a pretty devoted dad. Like you can see even the things that he does with Jackson, like Jackson's done a bunch of that stuff lately and everyone sort of got to know him. I know that he plays cards with him all the time. I've seen that. And, he was on that SAS or whatever the hell it was. And he's got the girls that he does like TikTok videos with and shit. Like he's a good dad. And I think and it's weird. Everyone sort of feels like I have a bit of shame. Like I always think like I said earlier, the fact that I find it weird that I'm a bit sad or I'm more sad about this than I have been about other celebrities and people that have died. And it is a bit of a Diana moment because I'm going to remember that when Warney died, like 52, like that's insane. I guess I'll start on like one of my favorite things about Warney. We can go through them. Obviously the Gadding thing's very cool and he's done a bunch of good stuff. And I think I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was the beginning of like the Big Bash sort of era. I mean, they're doing the mic'd up stuff. And he said he was about to do something. He said, I'm just going to get him out. I'm going to do this ball. And it literally played out as he said it. What's your
to anyone to McCullum? like the best T20 batsman in the world.
Yeah.
And Warnie's been retired for a few years.
What about to McCullum, Shane?
He might be trying to shape a sweep one after that first one, or maybe even go inside out again a bit harder. So might try and slide one in there fast.
Well, you called it.
And he's literally, I'll beat him with a slider here.
Yeah.
And absolutely smashes him.
That's what I love. The fact that a spinner can say that too. Like, fast bowlers can do their thing, but a spinner can just go, I'm just about to do this. But Kelly, what's your favourite Warnie moment?
It's hard to really knuckle down one. And I mean, Fox Sports have been absolutely dishing them all out. Oh, might be Cricket Australia. I don't know who it is actually, but I watched the entirety of what they classified as the top 50 wickets of Warnie of all time. And just the fact that you could have a fucking top 50. I mean, he took over 700 wickets in his 145 tests, which is unbelievable, right? Like, I tried to break that down, and it works out. Like, the numbers are unbelievable. But, like, can you really have a best? Like, I mean, for me, it's more recent than not. Like, I mean, yeah, his first wicket when he was like 1 for 130. There's some good offies. We've seen some great pace bowlers of our times, but leg spinner that's so consistently taking wickets like that, like, unbelievable. But I mean, what's most memorable for me was, when he tried to tonk that six over fucking mid off against the Kiwis in a test match, that he just went, you know what, this is who I am. I am going to hit a six. And as a character, I think that just speaks so loudly that it's just like, it's not like he was definitely arrogant when he used to play to a certain degree because he was the best. But here he is with a bit of willow in his hands, just going, you know what, Kiwis? Fuck yeah. I'm going to hit a fucking 100. I'm going to hit it with a six.
Goes for it. There's a man out there who's getting under it. And he's got it. And Shane Warne tragically finishes on 99.
And then him getting out. And it just glues to that. And it just went, fuck me. Warnie, you did it in true Warnie style. And like, just the idea of him smashing meat pies, drinking a can of Coke and having a durry in the change rooms before going out to set his sails towards a big test ton. Oh, as a character, that's the most uplifting for pretty much anyone that wants to be a cricketer, I reckon. Not even in the bowling sense. It's just as an athlete.
I think when you're talking about spin, like, we've had spinners, and I was hearing Clark talk this morning. He said that, like, Stuart McGill, for example, can spin the ball probably the same way as Warne, but not as accurate. He goes, Warnie could put it on a 10-cent piece every time, similar to what Glenn McGrath could do. No one else could do that. And Warnie could bowl at a bit of pace too. Like, his spin was actually quite fast. So ridiculous at how actual perfect.
I think Tunners, but back when he was training, like at his peak, halfway through his career, I'm pretty sure him was literally, he'd leave a piece of hanky in the designated spot on the pitch, wherever it was, and he had to land 4 in a row. So that could take 20 minutes, and he'd be like, yeah, sweet, I did it in 20 minutes, or that could take 6 hours. Like, he could be delivering, 1,000 deliveries to get 4 in a row. I don't know why 4 was his number, but to get 4 in a row on a piece of hanky towards the stumps on the pitch, that just showed how committed he was. And, we always dismiss, I wouldn't say dismiss, because I think it's more on the unknown side, I guess, just that he wanted to be an AFL star, long time ago, like, in the scheme of things, when he was a junior, like, he was within that development squad of St Kilda and down in Melbourne and everything else. And to turn it around, like, I mean, in the grand scheme, debuted at the age of 22.
Yeah.
He debuted in 1992 in the Sydney Test. So the fact that junior St Kilda AFL player, let's say he was 16 to 18, and then managed to just go pick up another craft.
So what happened? He got
You
dropped.
going, Tommy?
He was best mates with the captain. So if you haven't watched it on Prime, aired a couple of months ago. Anyway, I watched it yesterday, but it actually talks about how he was really good mates with the St Kilda captain. All he ever wanted to do was play for St Kilda. And when he was 18, they just said, mate, you're not good enough. So towards what you were saying before, Cowie, he had that rejection then. He couldn't stand people saying, mate, you're not good enough.
Yep.
And he's like, well, what else do I do? I've been playing a bit of cricket. I'll work on that. He said he was winning a couple of tennis matches. And at one point he thought, okay, maybe I'll make a bit of go at a tennis thing. But he ended up going to England, playing cricket like 7 days a week almost, put on a heap of kilos. But then he got signed for the Australian Developmental, which has produced so many stars now. But back in the day, no one had it's a brand new thing in South Australia. I think Terry O'Keefe even said he was the one teaching Shane then. And that's where he met Ricky as well, grown up as touted as a young sports star. And he was the one that gave Ricky the nickname Punter. And Ricky did a really good interview, if you haven't seen that, where he got really emotional. But and then Warne didn't get picked to go on to this development squad to go over the West Indies. So he said, they said, oh, mate, you're just not putting it in enough. Just look, stay here, work on your wrist. I think he had a sore shoulder or wrist, and just keep working, but you got to keep training by yourself. And he said, no, I don't want to do that. He called up the Victorian coach and he said, if I come back to Victoria, will you give me a grade game? And they said, yep, I reckon you're a fair chance of having a game. So he goes, yep, so long, I'll move back to Victoria. And I think he took a bunch of wickets from there. And within a year, he debuted for Australia. And then they put a plaque up in the training grounds of the first player ever to graduate from that training program. And he didn't even complete it. He left it because he didn't get selected. So you're right, Toby, that competitive edge, he used that to really, like, when he wasn't picked for something, he is so determined.
Back was just the fact that at 22 he debuted. At 18 he was still kind of within the development of St Kilda. He turned that whole shit around in 4 years, which is unbelievable on a national scale to represent a country. So, I mean, he was just an absolute legend all round.
I think it's quite disappointing that he was never captain, because I heard that I know he did a couple of one-dayers, but as a test captain, everyone was saying how like smart he was. I was hearing Pup say unbelievable how smart and like he knew the game so well. He gave Pup his nickname, which I didn't know. I was listening to a bunch of the greats and they are so in awe. And like, yes, Warnie's done a bunch of silly stuff and whatever, but he owned every single stuff up he did. Right. That's the cool thing about it. And the world still just forgave him each time. So he's got a lot of respect in the game. It sucks that he's gone, but it's so brutal. It's so brutal. When I think about Pup must have been pretty close with him, eh, Tom?
Yeah, massively. And I think the Greg Cricketer boys, or maybe it was someone else that had said Pup's two best mates in the cricketing world were probably Philip Hughes and Shane Warne. So he's had some big moments in his career, Pup, and he was a big reason why he was so sort of ruthless, like Warnie was, like, and such a good captain as well, because Pup was so competitive, just like Shane. And I was at Pup's last test at the Oval in England, and even I think they had no chance of winning, but he just still so competitive. And he'd be hurting really hard with this news. I don't recall any cricketers that wouldn't be feeling it. The Ricky Ponting one was a big one. Seeing Michael Vaughan interviewed, even like his first captain, Alan Ball, really emotional around it, and Isha Gilligan on Fox as well. Like it's rocked everyone. It's and as you were saying, Zach, like his ability to read situations is made him one of the best commentators he'd ever seen as well. He could just pick things before they happen, just like field settings. Like even in the most recent one, like him and Mark Waugh talking about slips catching and just the art of slips catching. And why, like, having good discussions around Warner and Smith and their fielding, and they just wanting Australia to do so well. And it's a real shame.
It's and like I said, he like wrapping up now, but he gave a lot of raps to Alan Border. Apparently, Alan Border had his back like from day one, even though when he was sucking at the beginning and won for however many. Apparently, Alan Border had his back for every time. So luckily, Alan Border saw something in him that made him kick around. But Vale, Shane Warne, devastated, but we move on. Hopefully his kids are doing okay and all his family and friends and that. But boys, we'll wrap up. We got a bit of league happening. We're going to get a league one out, and Manly coming Thursday, their opening game, and then obviously a bit of racing and stuff too. But thanks for joining me, boys.
No dramas, mate. And just in
Pleasure,
the way they
boys.
end that documentary as well is they have the top 5 cricketers of all time, and 4 of them say Sir in front of their name, and the other one Shane Warne. So if it was an earlier time, he'd definitely be knighted. But yeah, it just shows the company he's with there. Him and Bradman, 2 best Australia have seen, that's for sure.